Medusa know each other intimately. Medusa encourages Pegasus to stop letting people treat her like a pack horse. But this is before Medusa loses her head. Pegasus meets Perseus after he and Medusa are already lovers. She helps him out of a few jams. He rides her for his convenience. I stole a bridesmaid's dress from a movie. Peach satin fraying at the edges, bow on the ass, whistling to be cut open with a pocket knife. And then the woman took a lantern, held it above her head, and set herself on fire because she realized her body had been made from the bodies of corpses. But I'm mixing up my plot lines, and I wore it smoldering for you. Because it worked so well for defeating Medusa's pain, Perseus gets the idea that the best way of approaching any problem is to chop off its head. Pegasus tries to warn Perseus that some problems need to be discussed and analyzed before a solution can be found, which may not be beheading. But he doesn't believe her, so his problems rapidly multiply. Medusa cannot see what's happening because she doesn't have a head. Perseus, still riding Pegasus, presses his body hard against her, closing the distance between them. He tangles himself so deeply in her mane that Pegasus begins to believe that his problems are her problems. The tangle of headless problems that Perseus fails to overcome is called the Hydra. For Perseus, the Hydra is 14 Valium and a hunting knife taken to both wrists. The Hydra almost kills Perseus, but improbably he survives it. All I could think was tears. I've given them tears, I've gift wrapped them. At the end of the movie, the bald woman who looked kind of like a cancer survivor, only sexier, coalesces into a blinding light and a new life form is created. Everyone agrees that something very deep has just happened. A tired metaphor, my fingers can't stroke your belly like the wind can. My hands touch too lightly because they would want to consume you like ripe fruit and are ashamed of their own desire for violence. I picture her reading this. This poem is a funhouse mirror. The story's chronology is inverted, and the characters are interchangeable. It would never be enough to wake her, but she could sleepwalk towards me, into my arms. I could cheapen the ending by telling her it was all a dream, as I took her hand to help her down the steps, leading away from my poem. So I'd like to invite Ariel Fintischel onto the stage to assist me in reading a poem. Is Ariel out there? Thank you. So Ariel and I were in a writing group together, along with Stephen Rosensheim, and I'd like to thank them both for really, really helping me with this manuscript. And they are both really wonderful poets in their own right. So you ready? Oh, this is a 2-column poem. So I'm going to read one column, and she's going to read the other, and then we're going to read it together. This is called My Choices. I left you on the floor just once. You were calling for me in the dark, dark house. The next morning I lied, said I hadn't heard you. I had weighed my options, decided you were drunk, thought you'd go back to bed on your own if I ignored you like a cat locked out for the night. I let you scratch and whine, knowing the noise would stop eventually. What I didn't know was that this wasn't another ordinary evening. Now you were taking prescriptions not meant to be washed back with a 12-pack. Nasty chemical reaction made your legs give out from under you. You could have died. I let myself go back to sleep, not knowing it would be the last night I ever slept.
I went away to college not knowing what would happen to you when I was gone. For years you would call me on Friday, Saturday nights, slurred words laced with regrets, atonements. You promised my senior year. I swallowed so much anger, I was storing it in my cheeks like a chipmunk. There were days I wanted to kill you, beat the strength back into you, poke at your eyes until you were no longer blind to how much I loved you, how brave you were, invincible, how much I admired you before you decided to become a poison tester. So I left because I couldn't save you. I could save myself. I knew I had to make a choice. I chose soundly.
I left you.
I went away.
On the floor.
To college not knowing.
Just once.
What would happen to you.
You were calling.
When I was gone.
For me in the dark.
For years you would.
Dark house.
Call me on Friday.
The next morning.
Saturday nights.
I lied.
Slur words.
Said I hadn't.
Laced with regrets.
Heard you.
Atonements.
I had.
Promised.
Weighed my options. Decided you were drunk.
I swallowed so much.
Thought you'd go.
Anger, I was storing it.
In my cheeks.
Like a chipmunk.
Back to bed.
There were days.
On your own.
I wanted to kill you.
Like a cat locked out.
Beat the strength.
For the night.
Back into you.
I let you scratch and whine.
Poke at your eyes.
Knowing the noise.
Until you were no longer.
Blind to how much.
I loved you.
Another ordinary evening.
How brave.
Now you were.
You were.
Taking prescriptions.
Invincible.
Not meant to be.
How much I admired.
Washed back.
You before you.
With a 12-pack.
Decided to become.
Nasty chemical reaction.
A poison tester.
Made your legs give out.
So I left because.
From under you.
I couldn't.
You could have died.
Save you.
I let myself.
I could save myself.
Go back to sleep.
I knew I had to.
Not knowing.
Make a choice.
It would be.
I chose.
The last night I ever slept.
Soundly.
Thank you so much. Dear Anne Bonny, all the things I wish for seem to be things I'm ashamed to be wanting in the first place. So when I get them, I can't enjoy them. Have you ever had this problem? Have you ever run out your guns, intimidated a schooner into surrendering without a single shot fired? The passengers are wealthy and have hidden their gold in silly, obvious places. Have you ever won a good day's loot with little effort and then something strikes your sympathy? The tear the captain brushes from his eye, the way the countess's hands shake as she removes her rings. Suddenly, you feel like a villain, a bully. Suddenly, you feel like a pirate. The gold loses its sparkle and you refuse to join in the crew's drinking songs of victory. You drink your grog quietly, swallowing it quickly, trying not to taste it because it is good to be alive in what you are. So good, you are sorry for it. This is called A Small Madness. A small madness grows massive, monstrous when fed by love, becomes aware of itself, aware of its preferences, peculiarities, married for a year, then there was a desert, a breakdown of a car, a mind, a narrative. My mother fed my father's madness until it became its own institution, capable of holding meetings, passing bylaws. My mother fed my father's madness until it rumbled through the city like a public bus, the wrong bus, carrying her in a great arc away from her destination and then back to her point of origin. My father tried to end himself. So many times he was unsuccessful. He placed his hands around my mother's neck, tried to squeeze the air out of her. He was unsuccessful. I carry his name, Hyslop. It's a name that remembers. My mother doesn't carry it. I carry the madness it takes to tell.